Welcome to the Art of the Drink video podcast. My name is Anthony Caparelli. This week, I want to take you on a behind-the-scenes tour of the Maker's Mark Bourbon Distillery in the second of a special 3-part AOTD On the Road series from our visit to Loretto, Kentucky. We're going to take you through the bourbon making process from start to finish, and even jump on the bottling line so I can try my hand at the signature Maker's Mark wax dip seal. Let's start with a quick definition of America's national spirit, bourbon. At its core, bourbon is simply wood-aged corn liquor. By law, it must be made from at least 51% corn and aged for at least 2 years in new, charred oak barrels. In traditional bourbon recipes, corn was combined with malted barley and rye, then milled, cooked, and fermented. After much experimentation, Maker's Mark founder Bill Samuel Sr. decided to replace the rye with locally grown red winter wheat to cut down on bitterness. Maker's uses 70% corn, and the remaining 30% of the mash bill is about half malted barley and half wheat. Milling cracks the grain's hard outer layer, or bran, so the sugars inside can get out more easily during cooking. The milled grains are combined with pure, iron-free limestone spring water and cooked in mash tubs to extract the sugars for fermentation. Now it's time to make some alcohol. The mash is cooled and transferred to the fermenting vessels. In this case, rare cypress tanks with some planks over 100 years old. Then yeast is added, or pitched, to begin fermentation and make what is called distiller's beer. Maker's Mark propagates its own yeast from cultures that can be traced back to before Prohibition. They also use the traditional sour mash method, in which some culture is always kept and used to start the next batch. This maintains consistency from batch to batch. Currently, Maker's Mark is the only bourbon distillery to make batches of less than 19 barrels, which is the traditional small batch standard. So what exactly is fermentation? Simply put, it's the process of making alcohol by using yeast to convert sugar into ethanol and carbon dioxide. So by tasting for sweetness, you can tell how fermentation is coming along. Here, Dave is showing us how to feel for the cap of CO2 that forms over the open fermenters. After fermentation is complete, it's off to the stills to harvest the alcohol from the beer and make some white dog. Distillation is the ages-old process of separating liquids based on differences in boiling points. In this case, we're separating alcohol, which boils at about 173 degrees Fahrenheit, from water, which boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit, by heating the beer to about 175 degrees. This causes the alcohol to evaporate while the water remains liquid. The still then catches the alcohol vapor and cools it back down to below 173 degrees, which turns it into a liquid again. Maker's Mark double distills its bourbon to reduce the alcohol bite. They use an all-copper column still for the first distillation, called low wine, at 120 proof. For the second distillation, they use a copper pot still to make high wine at 130 proof. Dave Pickerell let me taste both the low and high wine directly from the still. I expected it to taste like moonshine, so I was a little apprehensive, but I found it was surprisingly smooth and quite drinkable even at this stage. There was also a noticeable reduction in bite from the low wine to the high wine. From the still house, I made my way over to the barrel warehouse to check out the aging process that differentiates white liquors like vodka from dark liquors like bourbon. It's this barrel aging that gives bourbon its color and much of its flavor. There's a common perception that the longer it's aged, the better the bourbon. In reality, though, it's possible to overage the bourbon, and the real art is to determine the amount of aging needed for each batch to maintain consistency with previous batches. Temperature changes during aging continually force the bourbon into and out of the barrel's charred layer, adding flavor and mellowness to the spirit. Some of the liquid also evaporates through the wood and concentrates the bourbon. This is known as the angel's share. So time in the barrel will vary depending on the degree of temperature and humidity changes that occur during aging. Only master distiller David Pickerell knows when the bourbon is ready for bottling. So let's go check out the fruit of all this labor on the bottling line. This is the Maker's Mark team of dedicated wax dippers. They make it look easy, but trust me, it's not. I decided it was time to suit up in my safety gear and give it a shot. Alright, so this is what I'm going for. She looks pretty fast. After a few quick lessons, I was live on the line. Apparently, you're not supposed to get so much on the glove. Whatever. They kept telling me the key was to twist it more. I thought I was twisting it more. Yeah, the glove. I know. That was just weak. All right, how's that for a twist?
You gotta really get into it. This is really hard. That's how you're supposed to do it.
You know, some things are just better left to the pros, and bourbon is definitely one of them. Just so you know, that's what the bottling line looks like coming at you at full speed. And that's how fast you're supposed to be dipping the bottles. Then it's off to packaging, the warehouse, and last stop, your bar. Well, I hope you learned something about bourbon this week. And if you're ever in Loretto, Kentucky, be sure and stop by the Maker's Mark Distillery and tell them Art of the Drink sent you. Check out our new Art of the Drink online forum to share recipes and meet other fans of Art of the Drink.
Okay, so you get your notepad and take a big sniff. First thing that happens is you get a little tingle in your nose from that carbonic acid. Then you get this overwhelming sense of because of the pin on the surface first, and so you got to discount that a little bit. If you come back and check this.
Anything else?
If you ever wished you could tend bar, then we invite you to experience Art of the Drink. Art of the Drink is an easy and fun how-to bartending DVD.
Who wants to make a margarita?
Join professional bar instructor and bar chef Anthony Caparelli and learn the ins and outs of bartending from both sides of the bar. Examine each of the best-selling types of liquor. Learn bar speak and how to order drinks like a pro. And master all the techniques you need to make today's most popular mixed drinks. As an added bonus, Art of the Drink includes more than 50 drink recipes, shopping lists, and advice on how to set up a bar at home, and a comprehensive course on how to create the perfect martini. So if you want to host better parties, entertain colleagues and clients, or just make drinks like your favorite bartender, you can with Art of the Drink.